वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। अमृत बिंदु उपनिषद वेद्यं यत् परमाक्षरं तदेव हि त्रियाद् रामचंद्रं न परागतिः। ओम मनो हि द्विविधं प्रोक्तं शुद्धं च अशुद्धमेव च। अशुद्धं काम संकल्पम, शुद्धम काम विवर्जितम। Now we are discussing about mind. Mind is of two categories, pure category and impure category. Shuddham cha ashuddham eva cha. So the pure category of mind is without desires. Shuddham kama vivarjitam. The impure category of mind is with desires. Now every person whom you see around, whatever he does, whatever he says, whatever he thinks, he is based on desires only, kama. Either it is sexual desire, or it is desire for money, or it is desire for power, or it is desire for popularity, or it is desire for love, or desire for support, or desire for friendship. Whatever is the desire, every time the mind is full of desires. So such a mind which is full of desires is ashuddha, and the mind which is without desires is shuddha, pure. Just like a small child. A small child has no desires. His mind is pure. So mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo bandhaya vishayasaktam muktya nirvishayam smrutam. All of you chant this 2-3 times along with me. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo bandhaya vishayasaktam muktya nirvishayam smrutam. Once again, mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo bandhaya vishayasaktam muktya nirvishayam smrutam. Once more, mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo bandhaya vishayasaktam muktya nirvishayam smrutam. Now this is very important to all of you to remember, memorize this half shloka. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. Means what? Mana eva. Only mind is the karanam, cause for the human beings, all human beings, manushyanam, bandha mokshayo, for bandha or moksha. So if you want bandha, if you want moksha, it is the mind only which causes that. Bandhaya vishayasaktam. A mind which is interested in vishayas or objects of senses, desires on the objects of senses. Vishayas means objects of senses. The senses are eyes, ears, nose. So the objects of those senses which give that pleasure or enjoyment. If there is asakti or attachment to those desires, objects of desires, then it is bandha, bandhaya, for bandha, bondage. And muktya nirvishayam smrutam, for mukti, for freedom or liberation or moksha, the manas is nirvishayam, without any vishayas. It is sarvashunyam nirabhasam samadhistasya lakshanam. In samadhi also, the mind is gone completely. What Patanjali defined as yogas chittavritti nirodhaha tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam vritti sarupya mitaratra. So when the mind is associated with its thoughts and desires, then it is lost in those thoughts and desires, the so-called external world. But when all that is stopped, when chittavrittis are arrested, chittavritti nirodha, tada at that time, drashtu swarupe avasthanam, it is in its own self nature. And that self nature is consciousness, pure self. And that is Ayam Atma Brahma, that is Atma, and Atma is God. So all other times it is impure, it is getting trapped in thoughts and desires and identifying with the objects of those thoughts and desires. Yato nirvishayasya manaso muktirishyate tasma nirvishayam nityam manah karyam mumukshuna. Yato nirvishayasya manaso muktirishyate. So when the mind is free from all vishayas, it is in mukti state, freed state. This is very important even in the normal life in practical sense. If you are always under obsession, preoccupation, paradhyanam, thinking something, wanting something, planning something, scheming something, which people do. Normally people whom you meet, they will be scheming, planning, dreaming, and they will not be in the presence. They will be in that kind of calculative mental state. And definitely the mind is not free. So when there are no desires, no plans, no schemings, and only at that time, like a small child, the child is equivalent to a spiritually enlightened person. Pure minded, pure heart. It is said even in other scriptures, including Bible, that pure will see God. So the pure people like children, they don't have any schemes and plans and desires and ideas and all kinds of things in the mind going on. So a mumukshu is a person who is desiring or aspiring for moksha. For a mumukshu, that is karyam. Nirvishayam nityam manah karyam. To keep the mind free always from desires and objects of desires and enjoyments. Because if you get trapped in that, you will never be able to come out. Yato nirvishayasya manaso muktirishyate tasman nirvishayam nityam manah karyam mumukshuna nirasta vishaya sangam sannirudhya manohrudi yada vayu yada yatya unmani bhavam tada tat paramam padam. Nirasta vishaya sangam, given up all the attachments to the objects of sensory nature. Sannirudhya manohridi, if your mind is fully controlled and established in your own heart, yada yat unmani bhavam tada, at that time you will be able to reach unmani bhavam. Unmani avastha is a type of samadhi state or before samadhi state. Unmani, manas is unmani, manonmanaya namaha. We will say unmani means manas has gone, ut means higher level of mind. Tada tat paramam padam, that is the parama padam. Tavadeva nirodhavyam yavad dhrutigatam kshayam etajnanam cha moksham cha atonyo grantha vistaraha tavadeva nirodhavyam yavad hrudimagatam kshayam. If your mind is going away from your heart, it is going on to desires, then you have to control and keep it back in your heart, which is the self or the supreme soul. And this is the essence of all yoga, all spirituality, all Vedanta. And what is all the rest then? Hundreds of books. Why are they there? Why are we studying? Ato anyo grantha vistaraha eta jnanam cha moksham cha. This is jnana and this is moksha. What is jnana and what is moksha? Make the mind free from all desires of objects of senses and make it calm and make it sit in your own heart and be in yourself, which is yoga sthiti. Yoga chitta vritti nirodhaha tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam vritti sarupyam itaratra. And he also said abhyas vairagya abhyam tan nirodhaha. Mind can be controlled only through abhyasa and vairagya. So if it is controlled and kept in your own heart, and your heart is in God or in self, and that is the moksha path. And all the rest is elaboration. This simple thing is being elaborated and explained and expanded in detail by the scholars and by rishis and by gurus in various books. Naiva chintyam na cha chintyam achintyam chintyameva cha pakshapata vinirmuktam brahma sampadjate tada. If that is done, then Brahman God will be sampadjate, will be achieved. God realization will be achieved. Pakshapata vinirmuktam, which is God is free from all pakshapatam or bias or preferences for some people. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. नैव चिंत्यम न अचिंत्यम अचिंत्यम चिंत्यमेव च. चिंत्यम अचिंत्यम अचिंत्यम चिंत्यम. That can be that which can be thought, that which cannot be thought, again that which can be thought, and that which cannot be thought. Swarena sanghayet yogam aswaram bhavayet param aswarena hi bhavena bhavo na bhavayishyate tadeva nishkalam brahma nirvikalpam niranjanam. Now, inasmuch as to a mind without a desire for sensual objects, there is stated to be salvation. Therefore, an aspirant after emancipation should render his mind ever free from all longing after material objects. When a mind freed from desires for objects and control in the heart attains the reality of Atma, then it is in the supreme seat. Till that which arises in the heart perishes, till then, in manners should be controlled. This only is the wisdom. This only is dhyana. This is meditation. Other ways are but long and tedious. In Brahman, it is not all one that can be contemplated upon. It is not one that cannot be contemplated upon. It is not capable of contemplation, yet it should be contemplated upon. Then one attains Brahman that is devoid of partiality. Yoga should be associated with swara, sound. Brahman should be meditated upon without swara. By meditating without swara upon Brahman, that which is, it cannot become non-existent. Are you following me till now? You want to ask anything till now? Hello? Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir. Sir, me mic mute అయిపోయింది sir.
Okay, now I think you can hear. Somebody muted my mic. Okay, so we are talking of meditation on God. Brahman means God. Self and Brahman, and both are actually same, but since we are not realizing, we feel they are different. Nirvikalpamanantam cha hetu drishthantavarjitam tadeva nishkalam brahma nirvikalpam niranjanam tad brahmahamiti jnatva brahma sampadjate dhruvam. So when this meditation goes on, the individual self gets merged into God. And then you will be able to feel godly experience, which is infinite, nirvikalpam anantam cha hetu drishtanta varjitam. It cannot be compared or given an analysis of logic or examples. Aprameyam anadyam, beginningless, jnatva cha paramam shivam, the transcendental, pure shivam. Na nirodho na chotpattir na bandhyo na chasanam. न मुमुक्षुर्न मुक्तिश्च इत्येषां परमार्थता एव एवात्मा मंतव्यो जाग्रत स्वप्न सुषुप्तिषु स्थानत्रय अतीतस्य पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते. So if you want to be born, not to be born again, then who will not be born again? He who realizes that he is Brahman. such a Brahman is I to be treated, that Brahman attains certainly Brahman. Whosoever recognizes I to be that Brahman attains that Brahman. A wise man, having known that Brahman that is without fancy, without cause or example, beyond inference, and without beginning or he's emancipated. If you realize God and its oneness with yourself, then you are realized, you are liberated. There is for him no destruction, no creation, no person in bondage, no devotee, no aspirant for salvation, no emancipated person. This is the truth. Atma should be contemplated upon. He is one in three states: the waking, dreaming, and dreamless sleep. There is no rebirth to him who goes beyond the three states. That is Turiya state. The one Bhutatma of all beings in all is in all beings. One self in all beings. First is to realize that you are the self, which is attributeless, pure consciousness and one with God. And second is to realize that the same self is there in everyone, in everything, which is also self, which is also attributeless and free from all constraints. So that Atmanam Sarvabhutani Atmani, that concept has to be realized by yourself, not by reading books. And please mute your mics. While a pot is being carried from one place to another, the ether or akasha in that pot is not carried along with it, as the pot alone is carried. Jiva within the body may be likened to the akasha. Like the pot, the body has various kinds of forms. The body which perishes again and again is not conscious of its own destruction, but he, the Jiva, knows it always. He who is enveloped by Maya of sound is never able to come to see the Son Parabrahman from the darkness of ignorance. Should such darkness be cleared, then he alone sees the non-dual state. Parabrahman is Shabdakshara, that what remains after the cessation of Shabda or the Vedas, that is Akshara, indestructible, should be meditated upon by a learned man who wishes to secure quiescence to his Atma. Shabdaksharam param brahma yasmin kshine yadaksharam yadvid vinaksharam dhyayed yadichet shantim atmana. If you want peace, you have to reach that stage. Dve vidye veditavye tu shabda brahma param chayat shabda brahmani nishnatah param brahmadhigacchati. There are two knowledge systems. One is Shabda Brahma and other is Parabrahma. Grandhamabhyasya bedhavi jnana vijnana tatvatah palalamiva dhanyardhityayeda grandhamaseshatah. Two vidyas are fit to be known, Shabda Brahman and Parabrahman. One who has completely mastered Shabda Brahman attains Parabrahman. Having studied well the books, the learned man should persevere studiously in the jnana, the acquisition of knowledge, and vijnana, self-realization according to such knowledge. Then he should discard the whole of the books as a person in quest of grain gives up the straw. So I want to ask you all on some questions. Will you get the Parabrahma Jnanam through books or not? Yes. Can somebody answer?
Like, what I can say is they are helpful to take us to the path, but they'll not be the ultimate goal, or they'll not give us the exact solution. So they are more like guidance providers. That's how I see it, and that's how what is evident from what you said.
Yes. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay, has given the example.
Yeah, I can say books are the guidelines and Guru is the path.
Yes, Guru is also path shower, not the path. Path you have to tread by yourself. Guru will only show the path. Okay.
Yeah, that's what. Sorry for the wrong sentence.
Both answers are correct, but now he's adding one more example to explain this matter very clearly. When we, we have this rice which we are eating. after cooking. And sometimes we get rice with cover, varidhanyam with cover, husk. So that husk we remove and take out the rice seed from the husk. So the husk is like, the books are like husk. They're carrying that knowledge, but until you drop the husk, you cannot eat the fruit of that husk, which is rice. You have to remove that husk. So even in the other Upanishads, like most important, what we have discussed, Yama's discussion with Nachiketa, there also he told very clearly, Nayamatma pravachanena labhyo. This self cannot be reached through lectures, na bahuna shrutena na medhaya. Kathopanishad. Grantham abhyasya medhavi jnana vijnana tatvatah. Medhavi, intellectual, having understood and practiced granthas, the text, and fully having grasped jnana and vijnana. Vijnana is application of jnana. Palalamiva dhanyardhi tyajed grantham aseshatah. Give up all books, just like you give up all the husk covers. Palalamiva dhanyardhi. If you want dhanya, you give up the palal. Palal is the husk. Gavam aneka varna nam kshirasyapyek eka varnata. Kshiravat pashyate jnanam lingana. Ringastu gavam yadha. Even though there are many colors of cows, the milk given by all the cows is same white color. Gavam aneka varnanam kshirasya api eka varnata. Kshiravat pashyate jnanam. You should look at jnana as that milk. Linganastu gavam yadha. Not bothered about from which cow, which colored cow it came and all that. Shrutamiva payasi nigrudham bhute bhute cha vasati vijnanam. Satatam granthacintavyam grandhayitavyam. Satatam manthayitavyam manasa manthananamu bhutena. Shrutamiva payasi nigrudham bhute bhute cha vasati vijnanam. Just as you have ghee or butter hidden inside the milk. You got the milk from various cows of various colors, and then you are going to take out the ghee. For that, you have to take out the butter, and you have to go on madhan. You have to go on doing that madhanam on the milk to bring out that butter and then melt it to become the ghee. Similarly, jnana netram samadaya chared vahnimatah param nishkalam shantam tad brahmahamipiti smrutam sarvabhuta adhivasam yadhruteshu vasatyadhi sarvanugrahatvena tasyaham vasudeva tadasmyaham vasudeva iti. Though there are cows of different colors, yet their milk is of same color. Like milk is seen jnana, and like cows are seen different kinds of forms in the universe. As ghee is latent in milk, so is vijnana or self-realization latent in every being. This is a very important point. As ghee is latent in milk, all kinds of milk from all kinds of cows, so is vijnana, self-realization, is latent in every being. That's why Swami Vivekananda kept on saying, every being is potentially divine. Every being means every man, you, me, and everything is divine, potentially. Through churning always, because the ghee or butter is there inside milk, but it is not visible. By churning only, it will be brought out into the reality. The churning stick of manas. What is that churning stick for this jnana? Manas is the churning stick. And the string of jnana. Because they tie one rope to that, that Yashoda used to go on churning the milk and taking out the butter, and Krishna will come and take that butter off. That rope on the stick and go on pulling it forward, backward, for both hands, forward, backward, so it will go on churning. And that rope will go, turn the stick, and the stick will go on turning. That churning will produce the butter. And when you melt the butter, it will become ghee. So the ghee is inside the milk, but unless the churning is happening, and what is the churning stick? It is manas, and the string or the rope is jnana, and Parabrahman. And what is the final outcome? Parabrahman is that is spotless, calm, and quiescent should be brought out like fire from the wood. The wood also has fire in it, but only by churning it will come out. I am the Brahman. So that realization that I am God, I am the Vasudeva who is supporting all beings, who lives in all and who protects all creatures, myself. And that Vasudeva is myself. And that realization is the moksha. Sahanavavattu sahanau bhunaktu saha viryam karavavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Surprisingly, this Amrita Bindu Upanishad is only 2 pages, or even 1 page it can be captured, original. But it contains very strong bullet points. First, he made the point that the mind is of 2 types, pure and impure. And impure mind is full of desires, and pure mind is free from desires. And second bullet point, which is worth memorizing, is and quoting every time. Many of these points are quotable quotes. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. I quote it in all my lectures. Mind itself is the cause of your liberation and also your bondage. Nobody else is the cause. Your mind itself is the cause of everything. Bandhaya vishayasaktam. If you are in vishayasakti, you are in desires and attachment to objects of senses, then you are in bandha, bondage. Muktiyai nirvishayam manaha. If your mind is desireless, then you are going into mukti. Yato nirvishyasyasya manaha muktirishya. Mukti is moksha is nothing but a state of mind which is free from all desires. Now I want to make one important point here. Even if somebody wants to do any intellectual work, let's say you want to understand philosophy or like this what I'm telling, or you want to write a theorem on the board, or you want to derive an equation, or you want to design something, whatever you want to do, your mind has to be free. Unless your mind is free from obsessions, harassments, tensions, attachments, worries, you cannot do anything. So free mind is compulsory requirement. And when you ask what is that free mind, now for example, the free mind is pure consciousness which can even envisage infinity. So a mind is something which can envisage anything and everything, and it takes those forms. Mind can take the form of a pot, or it can take a form of a bat, or it can take a form of a tree, or it can take form of infinity, or it can take form of Brahman. So mind itself is taking all these forms. So when the mind becomes nirvishayam, it is taking the form of Brahman, which is moksha sthiti. Nirasta vishaya sangam saniruddha manohridi. The next is the meditation process, giving up all attachments and all obsessions and desires on objects. Fix your mind in your own heart and then meditate on that transcendental Parabrahman. So much so that finally the mind merges in the heart and merges in Brahman. And once you are able to do it, then you will experience God, which is pure and free from all constraints. Nirvikalpam anantam cha hetu drishtantavarjitam aprameyam anadyam cha jnatva param shivam. That brahmahamiti jnatva. Then nirvikalp, when you realize that you are Brahman. And then you also realize that you are shuttling between the 3 states, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. And finally, he told there are 2 types of knowledges. One which is Shabda Brahma, other is Parabrahma. Shabda Brahma means books, Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads. All this is also Brahma, but Shabda Brahma. But the Shabda Brahma is only a cover for the real Parabrahman. Just as the husk is removed to bring out the rice seed, so all these books, Shabda Brahma, will have to be dropped when you acquire Parabrahman. When you acquire Parabrahman, Sarva Bhuta Vidhavasam said, Bhuteshu Asatyadhi, Sarvanugrahagattvena Tadasyaham va. You will realize that you are that God which is spread in everything, and therefore you are liberated. This is the sum and substance of this. Second time I have explained this fantastic Upanishad, Amrita Bindu Upanishad. Shall we take up one more Upanishad, or you want to ask any questions for this past one? So we have time.
Sir, I have a question. Could you let us know the significance of the name Amrita Bindu of this Upanishad?
Yes, Amrita is immortality, Bindu is point. So, immortal point. He has just given the very gist summary of the entire thing. Immortal point. Bindu means the summary, point, essence. Amrita Bindu, essence of immortality. Okay.
Yeah, got it. Sir. I have another question. So today we spoke about the desire in order to achieve something, and also we've spoke about self-realization or self-actualization, moksha. So do these two work together? Because once the person has that desire to reach something, the whole essence would be lost. Do you think? I mean, I just want to know that.
Not considered as desire. Mumukshutva, being interested in getting moksha, is not a desire. It is trying to be desireless. It cannot be equated with a desire like acquiring a job or acquiring money or acquiring a house and all those desires. Because they're all finite desires. They have sensory and mental dimensions. Whereas the mumukshutva or atmajnana moksha is without any attributes, without any sensory or mental characteristics. All other desires will be on objects which have certain defined sensory or mental characteristics. Whereas moksha is the opposite of it. So you are trying to reach a higher stage. Like I'll give you the example of Dhruva. You heard of Dhruva, right? Dhruva was the son of Uttanapada, and King Uttanapada had another son, and they both used to sit on the laps of the king. So this fellow, when he was sitting, he was asked to get out. So then he realized, why is it that I am being asked to get out? Can I get something from which I will not be asked to get out? Because all our desires are all which will be asked to get out. You have to go. You have to leave. Even this body, you have to leave. Your job, you have to leave. I became director general, but I had to leave. I can't be like that forever. And similarly, I became something. I had to leave. I was born into this world. I have to leave this world. But is there anything which is fixed, permanent, which will always be with you? So Dhruva went on in search of such a object. So that is nothing but God. So he meditated for many years. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Narayanaya mantra, which Narada gave him. And for after many years, he had that God realization. And he is now commemorated as the North Pole Star, Dhruva Nakshatra. So all the other desires, and one more example I can give is about Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's story. Like a mother who has many children, babies, every child wants to be with the mother. But the mother cannot keep all children at the same time. So what she does is she will give some dolls to those children. So those children who are satisfied with those dolls, they will be playing with the dolls and forget about the mother. They will not cry. But there will be one particular child who is not satisfied with those dolls because she wants only mother and nothing else, not negotiable. Then mother will pick him up and keep him with him. So this is the story. So if you are interested in desires of objects, then you will never reach the ultimate moksha. So if you are interested in moksha, interest in moksha is not considered as a desire. Okay, right. Next.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Any other question? Okay, if there are no other questions, we will go to one more Upanishad. Yoga Kundali Upanishad. Later, I will start now. It will be a big one. It will take 2 days or 3 days.
There is one question, sir. Sir, what is true renunciation? Chitta Tyaga. Is it consist of mind or soul?
No, no. See, as long as the mind is active and mind is having desires, the soul cannot be experienced. So you are at the level of mind only. So you are driving a car, you are a driver. You may be the owner of the car, but you cannot experience it. You will only experience driving. When you stop driving, then you sit back and somebody else drives, then you know that you are not the driver, but you are the owner. That is soul. Soul is the owner, driver is the mind. So you are getting carried away with the false identification of thoughts which are coming into the mind. The mind will continuously show you cinema. When you close your eyes, when you open your eyes, it continuously showing a cinema, which is fake, but you cannot know that it is fake. And so mind is the only problem. Chitta vritti nirodha, not soul vritti nirodha. It is chitta vritti nirodha. So when chitta vritti nirodha happens, then only soul can be experienced, which is Atma. And in the soul is established, then Paramatma can be experienced, which is God. Okay, now we go to Yoga Kundali Upanishad. This is also one of the Yoga Upanishads. Hetudvayam hi chittasya vasana cha samiranah tayor vinashtha ekasmin tadvavapi vinashyatah. Now, there are two causes of mind, chitta. One is vasana and other is breathing, breath, samirana, vayu. Tayor vinashtam ekasmin dvavapi vinashyatah. If one of them is closed or stopped or finished, the other also will be closed or stopped or finished. Simple. If you hold your breath, you cannot think. Your mind will not wander. Chale vayus chale chittam. If your breath is moving, then only the mind will move. So holding the breath is the core principle of pranayama. It is not possible for anybody to hold breath all life or all day or all time. Breathing has to go in and come out. It is a continuous process. So the mind is also continuously moving. Similarly, vice versa, when the mind is calmed down, the breath also becomes deeper automatically. It may even stop in samadhi without depth. Tayoradau samirasya jayam kuryan narasada. Now he is telling, because it is not easy to conquer the samskaras, vasanas of the mind, you better start controlling the breath. Although in the beginning, samirasya jayam kuryat, you shall conquer your breath. Mitaharas chasanam cha shakti chalas tritiyakaha. So first is pranayama, second is mitahara, eating less, asanas, and shakti chalana mudra. Etesham lakshnam vakshe srunu gautama sadaram. Now I'll explain these details of these different yoga techniques. Asanam dvividham proktam padmam vajrasanam tatha. This we know very well, either padmasana or vajrasana. Purvoruparichedhutte ubhe padatale yatha. He is explaining padmasana. Padmasanam bhavedetat sarva papa pranashanam. Now this is a important quotation. Padmasanam bhavet sarva papa pranashanam. Padmasana will remove all sins. This nobody knows. A lot of people who practice Padmasana, we don't even know that it removes all sins. The lotus pose removes sins. That's why all the Devi Devtas, Buddha, everybody is in Padmasana. Purvo upariched dhatte ubhe padatale yatha. So you know Padmasana, right? All of you, anybody here who doesn't know Padmasana? So Padmasanam bhavet sarva papa pranasanam. Vamangri mulakandadho hyantam taduparikshipet samagriva shirakayo vajrasanam iti iritam. Now Vajrasana is also being explained. Kundalyeva bhavet shaktistanam tu sanchalayet buddha swasthana bhruvor madhyam shakti chalana muchyate. So Shakti chalana here, what he means is a particular technique by which he is able to lift the kundalini from the Muladhara up to the Bhrumadhya. Bhrumadhya means the center of eyebrows. Tat sadhane dvayam mukhyam sarasvatyastu chalanam. There are two parts in this sadhana. First part is called the chalana or the activating of Saraswati. Pranarodham adhabhyasad Rujvi Kundalini Bhavet. So by pranayama, pranarodha means pranayama, adha abhyasat, Rujvi Kundalini Bhavet. So Kundalini will become active through pranayama. Now this statement is very easy to read and hear, but it's not understandable. How Kundalini becomes active through pranayama. It is only to be experienced over a period of many years of practicing of pranayama under the guidance of a competent guru who himself has practiced. A lot of gurus are there today who themselves have not practiced, but they'll try to teach what they don't know. And there are many gurus who have not learned what they are teaching from their own guru. Both are illegal. If you create something which is not there and then teach, it is not valid. And if you don't teach what you have not learned from your guru, that is also not valid. Tayo Radho Saraswatyas Chalanam Kabhayamite. Now I am going to explain you the activation of Saraswati is this. Arundhatyaiva Kathita Puravidbhi Saraswati. Arundhati eva Kathita Puravidbhi Saraswati. Yasya Sanchalananeva Swayam Chalati Kundalini. By activating Arundhati, the Kundalini will be automatically activated. Idayam Vahati Prane Badva Padmasanam Drudam. Dvadashangula Daidyam Cha Ambaram Chaturangulam. Vistiryatena Tannadim Veshtayitva Tatasukhi. Angushta Tarjanibhyam tu Hastabhyam Dharaye Drudam. Prashaktya Chalaye Dvame Dakshinena Punah Punaha. Muhurtadvaya Paryantam Nirbhayat Chalayet Sudhi. He has given the very advanced pranayama technique of activating Saraswati and which is then activating Kundalini through that. Prashaktya Chalayet Dvame Dakshinena Punah Punaha. I will not explain this practice because it has to be learned in person from the teacher who knows it. Those who don't know should not teach it. Muhurtadvaya Paryantam Nirbhayat Chalayet Sukhi. 2.5 hours, more 1 hour. And Urdhvam Akarshayet Kinchit Sushumnam Kundali Gatam. So Kundalini will travel through Sushumna and it will go upwards to the higher level chakras. Tena Kundalini Tasya Sushumnaya Mukham Rajet Jahati Tasmat Pranoyam Sushumnam Rajati Swataha. Tunde tu Tanam Kuryacha Kantha Sankochane Krute Saraswatyas Chalena Vakshascha Urdhvago Marut. Suryena Rechi. Again, he is explaining the entire complicated pranayama. Suryena Rechayet Vayum Saraswatya Suchalane. Kantha Sankochanam Krutva Vakshascha Urdhvago Marut. Tat Samat Sanchalayet Nityam Shabdagarbha Saraswatim. Yasyab Sanchalananeva Yogi Rogai Pramuchate. Gulmam Jalodhara. By practicing this particular technique, all types of diseases like Gulma, Jalodhar, Pliha, Anye Tunda Madhyaga, Sarve to Shakti Chalanena Roga, Nashyanti Nischayam. So the beauty of Yogopanishads and also their difficulty in that process is the explanation of the various complicated techniques like asanas, pranayamas, mudras, bandhas, kriyas. They will explain in theory, but you cannot practice by reading that because it is confusing and incomplete and misleading. You have to learn from a teacher, and all teachers will not know all techniques. And even if they know, they may not be able to teach. So, pranarodham adhedenam pravakshyami samvasataha. Now he is going to explain pranayama. Pranascha dehago vayuhu ayamaha kumbhaka smrutaha. Can anybody explain what does the word pranayama mean? Can you break up and explain what the word pranayama means? Prana ayama. What does it mean? Okay, here he is explaining pranascha dehago vayuhu. He is explaining prana as the vayu which is spread in the whole body. Ayamaha kumbhaka smrutaha. Kumbhaka means retention, holding the breath. Ayama means holding the breath. That is one interpretation to the word pranayama. Another interpretation is ayama is regulation of the prana or breathing. Prana is manifest as breathing in animal bodies, but it is also manifest as in different forms in nature, like lightning and like oxygen, like sunlight. Prana is there in many forms. Saiva dvividha proktaha sahitaha kevalastatha. Now this kumbhaka a very important principle. All of you being yoga teachers should understand. How long we'll be doing pranayama? For how many years? Till when? Yavat sahitah tavat, yavat kevala tavat sahitah. That is the statement. Here also he is making that. A sadhaka will be performing pranayama till a stage is reached when, without holding the breath is held automatically by the system. That is called kevala kumbhaka, and which is a fun step before samadhi. Sahitah kevalah, sahita pranayama and keval kumbhaka, sahita kumbhaka and keval kumbhaka. Sahita kumbhaka is you are consciously performing retention of the breath after breathing in, before breathing out. In keval kumbhaka, the breath automatically stops without death, of course. If death means it is a permanent death, but we are talking of the yoga states. Yavat kevala siddhit syat tavat sahitam abhyaset. This is the thumb rule. Yavat kevala siddhi syat tavat sahitam abhyaset. Until the keval kumbhaka stage is reached, sahita kumbhaka shall be practiced. Surya ujjayi sitali cha bhastri chaiva chaturdhika bhedair eva samam kumbhoyah syat sahita kumbhaka. Sahita kumbhaka is given as 4 different pranayamas. One is Surya Bheda or Surya, second is Ujjayi, third is Sitali, fourth is Bhastri. So Sitali, Sitkari are similar, so we can consider as both. And Bhastri is nothing but Bhastrika. Kapalbhati and Bhastrika are similar but not same. In Kapalbhati, the abdomen is pulled inside and left loose. It will not be pushed forward. In Bhastrika, it will be pushed forward also. So when it is pushed forward, breathing in happens. When it is pushed backwards, breathing out happens. That is the difference between Bhastrika and Kapalbhati. Otherwise, both are same. Surya Bheda is breathing in through right nostril and breathing out through left nostril after retention. This will generate a lot of heat. It will be very useful in winters. Right now, it is winter in Australia. Those who are in Australia can practice Surya Bheda and enjoy the heat which it produces. Ujjayi is, Ujjayi pranayam with the throat being pulled up and breathing coming through the throat. So these 4 types of pranayamas he has explained. Each Yoga Upanishad explains its own version of pranayamas, kriyas, and bandhas and asanas, which are by and large same, but sometimes slight differences may be there. Like all the gurus also, today also, we have B.K. Saingar, we have Pattabi Jois, and we have Ramdev, or we have Krishnamacharya Institute. They all teach asanas, but there will be differences in it. And some teach and some others don't teach, like Sukshmayam, Yogic Sukshmayam, which we teach, nobody else teaches. And most of them don't teach Kriyas. Some of them do. Ramdev teaches Kriyas only in Rishikesh and Haridwar, not outside. Now he is going to explain the other environmental factors for practicing successful yoga. Pavitre nirjane deshe, charkaradi vivarjite, in a pure and uncrowded corona-free zone, you should sit, and where there is no reth means this sand and all. Dhanu pramana paryante, sita agni jala varjite, where there is no fire and there is no water in the near vicinity. Pavitre natyuchani chesha, in 6th chapter in Bhagavad Gita, natyuchitam nati nicham chailajana kushotta, neither too high nor too low. You sit in an asana, sukhade sukhe, in comfortable position, which gives you comfort zone, comfort state of sitting. Baddha padmasanam krutva, saraswatyatu chalanam, saraswati chalana karo, dakshanadya samakrishya, bahishtham pavanam shanaihi, yadheshtham purayedvayum rechayed idayatataha, kapala shodhete vapi, shodhane vapi, rechayat pavanam shanaihi, kapala shodhanam, and chatushkam vatadosham to krimidosham niha. Krimidosham means all these microbes causing diseases. Vata dosham is vata diseases. All will be cured by this particular pranayama. Dakshanadya samakrishya bahishtham pavanam shanaihi yadheshtam purayedvayum rechayed idayadata. That means take with right, hold it for some time and breathe out to the left. Kapala shodhane vapi rechayed pavanam shanaihi, slowly, and you will overcome these problems. Punah punaridam karyam surya bhedam udahutam. Repeatedly breathing in through the right and breathing out to the left after holding for a short while, comfort zone, is called surya bheda. Mukham samyamya nadi bhyam akrushya pavanam shanaihi यथा जग यथा लगति कंठात् तु हृदयात् प्रति सस्वनं पूर्ववत् कुंभमेत् प्राशां रेचयित इडयाततः. This is Ujjayi he is explaining. Sirshodhitanalaharam galashleshmaharam chaparam. Removes the phlegm in the throat and also the headache related problems. Sarvarogaharam punyam deha anala vivardhanam nadi jalodaram dhatu gata dosha vinashanam gachat tishtatah karyam ujjayakyam tu kumbhakam. Ujjayi, I'm sure you all must have learned Ujjayi. So you have all learned Suryaveda and Ujjayi. Have you learned or not? Shitali, Bhastrika, all the four you have learned? What are being
Yes,
described in
Yes,
this?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So he is explaining in text Ujjayi Pranayama. Yatha lagati kanthattu hridayabadhi susasvanam. From throat to the heart with sound. Puravat kumbhate kumbhayet pranam. Mukham samyamya nadibhyam akrushya pavanam shanaihi. Purvat kumbhe pranam rechayit idayat. Sirshodita nalaharam. So this Ujjayi, it will remove the phlegm, remove all diseases, punyam, it is divine, and it will increase the fire of digestion. Nadi jalodaram. Jalodaram means people have big inflammatory stomach. And dhatugata dosha upavinasana. Also the diseases coming due to the dhatus, the tissues, muscle and bone and so on. Gachata tishtataha, while going or while sitting, you can do Ujjayi. Kumbhakam. Now, Jihvaya Vayum Akrishya, Puravat Kumbhakan Kadanu. Now he is explaining Sitali. Chanaistu Granarandhrabhyam Reshayed Anilam Sudhi. Slowly breathe out through nose. Gupta Pliha Adikan Doshan Kshayam Pittam Jwaram Trusham. Fever, thirst, pitta. Pitta is paityam. The heat you get paityam. Vishani Shitali Nama Kumbhakoyam Nihanti cha. And even poisons it can remove. Okay, let us do all Shitali pranayam right now for 5 minutes. We enjoy the cool breeze through our mouth. Are you feeling cooling effect? Those who are in India must be able to experience the cooling effect. Because this tongue tip has some nerves on the arteries which are being cooled by the evaporation of breath passing on the saliva. So now one more I'll show you Sitkari, that is keeping the tongue upwards inside like this and closing the teeth and breathing through the teeth so that the breeze will go and impinge on the back of the tongue. Here. Is more effective than Shitali. Okay. You all know both Shitali and Shitkari? Answer me. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now we go to Bhastrika. We don't have to do it now. Tata Padmasanam Badhva Samagrivodara Sukhi. Sitting in Padmasana with one line, straight line comprising of Griva, that is neck, Udara, that is abdomen, one line without bending, that means. Mukham Samyamya Yatnena Pranam Granena Rechayet. Breathe out through the nostrils. Yatha Lagati Kanthattu Kapale Saswanam Tataha. With big sound. I will not do it now because it is not the time to do Bhastrika. Vegena Purayet Kinchit Dhrutapadmavidhi Marutam. Punar Vicharayet Punar Rechayet Purayet Punah Punah. Again. Again, when you do Bhastrika, I don't have to. It is like means fellows of metallurgy people. Those who deal with metals. Dev Swasharirastham Chalayet Pavanam Shanai Yatha Sramo Bhaved until there is lot of exhaustion. Tatha Suryena Pure. Then you breathe through right. Yathodaram Bhaved Purnam Pavanena Tatha Lagu Dharayan Nika Nasikaya Madhyam Tarjanibhyam Vina Dridham Kumbhakam Puravat Krutva Rechaye Didayanina. Hold breath for some time and breathe out to left. Kanthotthita Analaharam Sharira Agni Vivardhanam. So it will remove heat in the body, improve the digestive fire, Kundali Bodhakam. It will also help in Kundali awakening, Punyam, Papagnam, it will remove sins, and Shubhadam Sukham, Brahmanadi Mukhantastha, Kafaja, Argalana Anashanam, Kafa and other things will be removed. Gunatraya Samudbhuta Grandhitraya Vibhedakam. Grandhis, 3 Gandhis you can break and go higher in Kundalini. Vishesheneva Kartavyam Bhastrakyam Kumbhakam Piham. Chaturnam Vibhedanam Kumbhakam Samupasthite Bandhatrayamidam Karyam Yogavir Vata Kalmashaihi. So he is now explaining the bandhas, Mola Bandha, Pradhama Mola Bandhas Tudvitiyo Uddiyana Vidhajnana. Jalandhara Stuti Estesham Lakshanamuche. Jalandhar Udyana Mola Bandha. You know all the 3 bandhas, right? And Mahabandha also. Athogati. You all know the 3 bandhas? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
No, sir. No.
No? Who is saying no? You are not attending yoga course?
No, I'm not.
Then you should learn. You should learn from someone who teaches those things. So he's explaining the bandhas here. Now, those who have learnt already must be feeling very happy that these bandhas are being explained in Sanskrit language in this Upanishad.
Yes, sir.
So that will be found in many other Sanskrit texts of Hatha Yoga. So how much time we have? Shall we stop here or shall we continue for some more time? Hello? Shall we
It's
continue?
12, sir.
It's 12. Okay. Okay, he is explaining the bandhas also. And I don't have to explain all that. You all know it. He is also explaining the kumbhakas done in the bandhas. And Shankaracharya also wrote a book called Yogatharavali, which I translate to English. Jalandharo Jnanana Mola Bandhan Jalpanti Kanthodara Payumulan Bandhatrayesmin Parichiyamane Bandhakuto Daruna Kalapashat. Jalandharo Dhyan Mola Bandhairu Nidritaya Muraganganaya. Tachang Mukhatvat Gamagamed Gaman. So Jalandhara, Uddiyana and Mola Bandhas are very powerful. As I told you yesterday, the 3 chakras. The Uddiyana Bandha deals with the navel and heart. So heart, Anahata also, we all are close by. And those chakras control the organs surrounding those chakras, like pancreas, liver, gallbladder. So those organs can be made into healthy by the practice of Uddiyana Bandha. And Moola Bandha is at the rectum level. The diseases concerned with rectum or with the reproductive organs or with other related organs in that zone can be cured by the Moola Bandha. And Jalandhar Bandha is at the throat, which is Vishuddha Chakra. So all the organs near the Vishuddha Chakra, the larynx, the trachea and speech organs, ENT, ear, nose, what we, ENT specialist organs, all these will be controlled by Jalandhar Bandha. But all should be done correctly. One important principle in Jalandhar Bandha is your eyes are closed when you do Jalandhar Bandha, when you hold the breath. Whenever you bend the neck forward to do Jalandhar Bandha, your eyes have to be closed. If your eyes are kept open, they'll get damaged. And Uddiyana Bandha is pulling the abdomen back after breathing out and holding without breath for quite some time. And Moola Bandha is pulling up the rectum after breathing out or breathing in and holding it. So Mahabandha is doing all the three together at the same time and holding them, which is very tough. For those who have learned, it will be easy, but for those who have not learned, it will be tough. So by doing these bandhas, no diseases in the body can exist. Now today in the whole world, the biggest problem is how to keep healthy, how to have high resistance, even to corona or any other infections. All that is very much possible by this mudras, bandhas and pranayamas, which are all embedded partly in Sukshmayam also, and they're separately also practiced. Okay, then we'll close now. We will continue tomorrow this Yoga Kundali Upanishad. If you have any doubts now, you ask me for some more time. Few minutes more. Okay, no doubts.
Sir,
So,
can you explain the 25th sloka again? Kapala Shodhanam api rechat pavanam shanai.
okay, good. I'm happy that you are keeping track. 25th, yeah. Kapala Shodhane vapi rechayet pavanam shanai. That is what he means is that while doing the this particular pranayama, the Surya Bheda, your head also will be cleaned out because you are breathing out in that particular manner. Dakshanatya samakrisha bahishtam pavanam shanai yadeshtam purayed vayum rechayed idayatataha. Okay? Kapala Shodhane vapi rechayet pavanam shanai Chatushkam Vatadosham to Krimidosham. Yeah. He should exhale it after purifying his skull by forcing the breath up. See, what he means like that is like that, cleaning up the head at the top in case it is required.
It's
Okay?
only exhalation.
Yeah, you see, in case there is something holding up, you can do this Kapala Shodhana to clear up. It's not after Jalleti we do that, no? After finishing Jalleti,
Sir.
so we shake our head and breathe out fast. So it is like clearing up the head. That's all. Yeah, somebody asked a question, how is Padmasana going to purify? Yes, it will purify because of its impact on the body and mind. If you sit in any other position, you will be always bending like this. In Padmasana, you cannot bend, you will be sitting straight, and so many other effects. The legs are pressing the pancreas and intestines. And on Padmasana, we are also supposed to do a little bit of bending forward, which is Yoga Mudra, and bending backward, which is Matsyasana. All these things will clear up the gases, improve the digestion, improve the fire. It will also improve the flexibility, definitely. So many benefits are there, and mind will become stable. And therefore, it is overcoming sins, because all diseases are also due to sins only. Purva janma kritam papam vyadhirupena pidayat. The sins committed either in this life or previous life will result in various disorders, diseases, रोग. रोग सब कहाँ से आए? आपका ही कर्म है, आपका कुकर्म है. So आसन प्राणायाम करने से, पद्मासन से लेके सब कुछ उसको ओवरकम करेगा. So when you are overcoming papa, it is punya only. That is why Padmasana is causing punya. Of course, Siddhasana will also be punya. It's not that Siddhasana is not. But Sukhasana is just sitting like what we are sitting now without, it is not be so powerful. It is Sukha only. So only Padmasana, Vajrasana, Siddhasana, these are the ones which are having some power. Next, any other question?
So
Yes.
I asked a question about the food. Like,
Yes.
what is the right quantity of food? Like sometimes, living a grass life, it happens like there are many things which are cooked at home, and then people tend to eat more, and then it's food is more of a timely thing rather than hunger thing. So, what is the right time and what is the right quantity that one should eat? And is it recommended to fast, like say for 9 days during Navaratri, non-stop without eating? Is it okay?
Okay, well, good questions. Many questions you asked in one question. Now, as regards the Navaratri fasting and all, we don't recommend it for yoga practitioners. The yoga practitioners who are doing yogasanas, pranayama daily, fasting is not recommended, because fasting means you have to sit quiet. Upavasa. Upavasa means you have to sit quiet and meditate on God. That's all you have to do. You cannot do asana, pranayama, go around and do lectures like Narendra Modi does, and all that you cannot do. So you have to sit and meditate. That is called Upavasa, staying near to God. Upavasa means Upanishad, Upavasa. So fasting 9 days, it is not recommended for yoga practitioners. But those who are already fasting since childhood, like Narendra Modi or Gujaratis and some North Indians, they are in a habit of fasting and they eat a special diet in the name of fast. Not that they are fasting completely. They eat some diet, and that diet is sattvic diet, definitely, and it will sustain. Which is fine. We have no problem for that. But for those who are practicing yoga regularly, complete fasting is prohibited. But diet change can be there, and sattvic diet is recommended with limited fasting, no problem, no problem. But now the question of time and hunger, without hunger, you should not eat, even if it is time up. Suppose you have full stomach, you should not eat food because it is 9 o'clock. You are not feeling hungry, you cannot eat. So gradually you will come to a stage where your timing and your hunger will coincide with each other, synchronize. It has to be correct time. In between meals, do not eat anything. You should allow the digestion process to proceed on its own without disturbing it by eating some more things in between, or drinking tea and eating biscuits. All that in between meals is prohibited. And timings are very critical, and hunger should synchronize with timings. And you should eat in such a way that you chew it and chew it and chew it and make it liquid and drink, so that you eat less quantity, but it will become more when you chew it. It will expand inside the stomach. And you should not drink water while eating. And after eating, after some time, you can drink water, slowly sipping. And what you eat should be sattvic diet. It cannot be. If you eat rajasic and tamasic diet, you will get equally difficult problems. And of course, we cannot completely avoid rajasic diet. We eat some chilies and we eat some salt and we eat all these things. Limited extent, and that finally it all depends on the habits. What you eat in Karnataka is quite different from what people eat in Uttar Pradesh. That's okay. The golden rule is that whatever the traditional food is there, which their grandfather, grandmother ate, that's the best for that person, because the body is accustomed to that food. Like even in Hyderabad, the Marwadis will eat roti and South Indians will eat rice. There's nothing wrong because their bodies are accustomed accordingly. And the food is dependent on the weather conditions and also habit formation through generation after generation, centuries. I already told you yesterday, only 50% full stomach you should eat. That is mentioned in the Upanishad also. If somebody asks, you can tell. It is there in the Yoga Upanishad. You should fill your stomach only 50%, and remaining 50%, 25% should be water after finishing meals after some time. And remaining 25% should ever remain empty, so that it will allow your digestion process to proceed and again feel hungry after some time. If feeling hungry is nothing but stomach weak.
Yeah.
And you should not eat anything which is stored. And one final caution I want to give all the NRIs: don't eat stale food. I've seen in America people eating food cooked yesterday, day before yesterday, 1 week back, 10 days back, 3 months back. Absolute nonsense. It is pointless. You should not eat anything which is stale. You should eat only freshly cooked food. Hot food should be eaten.
Just one question on the reply that you gave. You said we shouldn't drink water after food. Like I totally follow that, but I've also felt like it feels more satisfactory if we drink water after food.
No, I told you should not drink while eating food.
Yeah.
After
I mean,
food, immediately after, you should drink only a little bit, avapasana. After some gap, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, you go on drinking. The rest of the whole day, you keep on drinking water.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right? Okay then? It's a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Tomorrow we'll meet. Bye.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.